The stars looked peaceful from the observation deck of the USS Defiant. Commander Ethan Wright stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as Neptune's blue surface rotated slowly below. The ship was on its final test run, checking all systems before heading back to Earth. Wright enjoyed these quiet moments in space. They reminded him why he joined the fleet in the first place. "Commander, you should see this." Lieutenant Roy Jackson's voice broke through the silence. The tactical officer's usual calm tone carried an edge that made Wright turn immediately. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "Multiple objects just entered the solar system, sir. They're moving at speeds we've never recorded before." Wright hurried to the bridge where the crew sat frozen at their stations, eyes fixed on the main screen. The objects, at least 30 of them, had bypassed all the early warning systems. Whatever they were, they moved with purpose. "Get me headquarters," Wright ordered. "We're trying, sir," said Communications Officer Lisa Powell. "All channels to Earth are experiencing interference." Chief Engineer Susan Miller looked up from her console. "Sir, these readings can't be right. The objects are slowing down without any signs of propulsion change. That's not possible with any technology we have." Wright felt a chill run through him. "Active scan, I want to know what we're looking at." "Sir," Jackson hesitated. "A scan will reveal our position." "Do it anyway," Wright said. "We need to know." The scan results appeared on screen, showing massive vessels with a design unlike anything in human records. They were heading directly for Earth. "Try to reach the Mars colony," Wright ordered. "Someone must be getting this." Powell shook her head. "Nothing, sir. It's like something is blocking all our communications." The bridge door opened and Dr. Olivia Martinez rushed in. The xenobiologist had been part of the test crew, studying space microbes they had collected from Neptune's atmosphere. "Commander, are those what I think they are?" she asked, her eyes wide as she looked at the screen. "We don't know yet, Doctor." "If they are extraterrestrial vessels, we need to be careful," Martinez said. "I've published research on potential first contact scenarios. Most intelligent species would likely evolve as predators, not peaceful explorers." Wright remembered reading about her controversial theories. Many had called her pessimistic, but looking at the screen now, he wondered if she had been right all along. "Sir," Jackson interrupted, "the objects have reached Earth orbit. They're positioning themselves around the planet." Wright made a decision. "Shut down all non-essential systems." "Miller, is that experimental stealth system still online?" "Yes, sir, but it's not fully tested," Miller replied. "Activate it now. We need to stay hidden until we know what's happening." As the Defiant powered down to minimal operations, they watched, through long-range sensors as the alien ship surrounded Earth. For 3 hours, nothing happened. Earth attempted communication on all frequencies. The aliens remained silent. Then it began. "Energy buildup in the alien vessels," Jackson reported, his voice barely a whisper. On screen, beams of light shot down from the ships to Earth's surface. Major cities were hit first: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Delhi. Within minutes, smaller cities were targeted as well. "My God," Powell said, her hand covering her mouth. Earth's defense fleet launched to engage the attackers. Their ships looked tiny next to the alien vessels. The battle was painfully brief. Human weapons barely damaged the alien shields, while the invaders' weapons cut through Earth's Defiant protectors with ease. "Sir, what do we do?" Jackson asked. Every instinct in Wright's body screamed to rush to Earth's defense, but he knew it would accomplish nothing. The Defiant was an experimental ship, not a warship. They would be destroyed before they could fire a single shot. "We watch," Wright said, his voice heavy. "We gather intelligence. We survive." Dr. Martinez moved closer to the screen. "They're methodical. This isn't random destruction. They're targeting infrastructure, defense installations, and population centers." "Who are they?" Miller asked. "I don't know," Martinez replied, "but they clearly planned this for a long time. They know exactly where to hit us." For hours, they watched as humanity fought back with everything available. Nuclear missiles were launched at the alien ships. Most were destroyed before reaching their targets. The few that hit did minimal damage. "Sir," Powell called out. "I'm picking up emergency broadcasts from Earth. They're calling them the Vorex." "Can we learn anything from these broadcasts?" Wright asked. "Not much, sir. Just that diplomatic attempts failed completely. The Vorex never responded to any communication." By the next day, Earth's organized resistance had crumbled. The Vorex ships now moved freely in low orbit, sending smaller craft down to the surface. "They're landing," Jackson noted. "Ground invasion has begun." Wright gathered his senior officers in the conference room. The mood was grim. Everyone had family on Earth. None knew if their loved ones were alive or dead. "We need to be realistic. About our situation," Wright began. "Earth has fallen, the main fleet is destroyed. As far as we know, we might be the only military vessel that survived the initial attack." "What about the outer colonies?" Miller asked. "Mars, Europa, Titan?" "We haven't been able to contact them," Powell said. "The Vorex seem focused on Earth for now, but it's only a matter of time before they move outward." "So what's our plan, Commander?" Jackson asked. Wright took a deep breath. "We have 3 advantages. First, our stealth system seems to be working. They haven't detected us. Second, we have Dr. Martinez, who understands more about potential alien psychology than anyone else. And third, the Defiant has the most advanced sensor package in the fleet. We can gather intelligence without being detected. You want us to spy on them," Miller said, "while Earth burns." "I want us to survive," Wright replied firmly. "I want us to learn their weaknesses, and then I want us to make them pay." He stood up and looked at each officer in turn. "I know this isn't what any of you signed up for. We all want to fight, but rushing in now would waste the only chance humanity might have. We need to be smart." Dr. Martinez nodded slowly. "Commander's right. The Vorex clearly studied us before attacking. We need to do the same." "What about survivors on Earth?" Powell asked. "We'll try to contact resistance groups when it's safe," Wright said. "But our priority now is to gather information and connect with the outer colonies. We need to unite what's left of humanity." For the next week, the Defiant stayed hidden in Neptune's orbit, analyzing Vorex communication patterns and ship movements. They learned that the aliens used a form of neural network to communicate between vessels, a kind of hive mind that made their coordination perfect. On the 8th day, they detected a signal from Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon. The research colony there had survived by hiding deep under the surface. Other signals soon followed. Mars colony had been hit but not destroyed. The mining operation on Titan was intact. Scattered throughout the solar system, humanity still existed in small pockets. "We're not alone," Wright told his crew as they charted a careful course to Europa. "And as long as humans survive somewhere, Earth isn't lost." The Defiant moved silently through the darkness of space, carrying with it the seeds of humanity's resistance. The war had just begun. 6 months had passed since the Vorex attack. The USS Defiant moved silently through the asteroid belt, its experimental stealth system keeping it hidden from alien patrols. Commander Ethan Wright stood on the bridge, looking tired but determined. In the months since Earth fell, sleep had become a luxury he rarely enjoyed. "Status report," he said to Lieutenant Roy Jackson. "All clear, sir. No Vorex activity detected in this sector." Chief Engineer Susan Miller entered the bridge. "Commander, we've finished repairs on the long-range sensors. They're working at 90% capacity now." Wright nodded. "Good work. What about fuel?" "We have enough for 3 more jumps before we need to resupply." The Defiant had been moving carefully between hidden human outposts, gathering information and resources. They had visited Mars, Europa, and several smaller mining colonies. Each place told the same story: survivors hiding, barely holding on, with no hope of fighting back, until now. "Dr. Martinez wants to see you in the lab," Miller added. "She says it's important." Wright found Dr. Olivia Martinez working with a piece of salvaged Vorex technology. They had recovered it during a risky mission to a crashed alien scout ship on Mars. "You wanted to see me?" Wright asked. Martinez looked up, her eyes bright with excitement. "I've been studying their communication system. The Vorex use a neural network that connects all their ships. It's like a hive mind. We already knew that, Wright said. Yes, but I found something new. The system has a flaw. She pointed to a strange-looking device on her table. This is part of their communication relay. Each ship has one. They use it to connect to the main hive mind. And the flaw? The system can't handle certain types of feedback. If we could introduce the right signal into their network, we might be able to disrupt their entire command structure. Wright felt the first spark of hope he'd had in months. Could we use this to fight them? Maybe. But we would need to get close to one of their command ships, and we would need help from someone who understands their technology better than I do. Wright thought for a moment. I know where we might find that help. 2 days later, the Defiant approached Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon. The human colony there had hidden beneath the thick ice, using Jupiter's radiation to mask their heat signature from Vorex scanners. Communications Officer Lisa Powell sent the agreed-upon signal. Europa Colony. This is USS Defiant requesting entry. Authorization code Phoenix Rising, a woman's voice responded. Defiant, this is Governor Alice Bennett. You're cleared for approach. Follow the transmitted coordinates exactly. Any deviation will result in defensive measures. The Defiant descended through a hidden opening in Europa's ice. Below was a marvel of human engineering, a complete colony carved into the ice and rock, with artificial lighting that mimicked Earth's sun. Governor Bennett met them at the landing area. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and the hard look of someone who had been making difficult decisions. Commander Wright, good to see your ship again. She shook his hand firmly. What brings you back to Europa? We need to speak with Dr. Kevin Harris, Wright said. I understand he's been studying Vorex technology. Bennett's expression darkened. Follow me. She led them through the colony to a laboratory deep in the moon's interior. Dr. Harris was a thin man with thick glasses who barely looked up when they entered. Dr. Harris, Bennett said. Commander Wright needs your help. Harris glanced at them. With what? I'm busy. Martinez stepped forward and placed the Vorex communication relay on his desk. Harris's eyes widened. Where did you get this? He asked, suddenly interested. Crashed scout ship on Mars, Martinez said. I've been studying it. I think it could be the key to fighting back against the Vorex. For the next hour, Martinez and Harris talked in technical terms that Wright barely understood. When they finished, both scientists were smiling. It could work, Harris said. The feedback loop would create a cascade failure in their neural network. But we would need to deliver the signal directly to a command node. That's where we come in, Wright said. But we'll need more than just the Defiant. We need to gather everyone who can help. Governor Bennett leaned forward. What are you proposing, Commander? A resistance. A real one, not just hiding and surviving. We need fighters, engineers, scientists. Anyone who can help us strike back. Bennett nodded, slowly. Europa will help. We have resources, people with skills, but you'll need more. I know, Wright said. That's why our next stop is Earth. The plan was dangerous. The Vorex controlled Earth's orbit, with patrols constantly scanning for human activity. But Wright had received a coded message from someone, called Major Paul Davis, who claimed to lead a resistance cell on the surface. 3 days later, the Defiant approached Earth using a complex route designed to avoid Vorex patrol patterns. The planet looked different now, large dark patches where cities had once stood, and strange structures built by the aliens. Take us down, Wright ordered. Stay in the cloud cover. They landed in what had once been the Rocky Mountains, now serving as a hiding place for survivors. Major Davis met them with a group of armed fighters. He was a muscular man with a scarred face and watchful eyes. Commander Wright? He asked. When we heard the Defiant had survived, I didn't believe it. We did more than survive, Wright said. We're planning to fight back, and we need your help. Inside Davis's base, Wright explained their plan to disrupt the Vorex neural network. Davis listened carefully, then shook his head. It's a good plan, but there's something you don't know. He led them to a secure room where images showed Vorex soldiers collecting humans. They're not just taking our resources, they're taking our people, for experiments. Wright felt sick as he watched the footage. What kind of experiments? Think they're trying to understand how humans think, how we adapt so quickly. The Vorex are strong, but they don't innovate like we do. They want that ability. This changed everything. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about stopping the Vorex before they could use humanity's own strengths against them. We need to move faster, Wright said. If they learn how humans think, they'll be unstoppable. Over the next month, the Defiant traveled between hidden human outposts, gathering specialists and resources. From Mars Colony, they recruited pilot Natalie Wilson, whose skills in zero-gravity maneuvers were unmatched. From the Titan mining operation, they found Greg Phillips, a communications specialist who had begun to decode Vorex transmissions. At each stop, Wright shared the same message. Humanity was not beaten. The fight was just beginning. The most valuable addition came from a small research station hidden in Saturn's rings. Engineer Sam Porter had developed a device that could amplify the feedback signal Harris and Martinez had designed. This will turn their own network against them, Porter explained, if we can deliver it to the right spot. By the time they returned to Europa, the Defiant was no longer alone. 5 other ships had joined them, not warships but mining vessels, research craft, and transport ships converted for battle. In Governor Bennett's underground command center, Wright addressed the leaders of humanity's remaining forces. 6 months ago, we thought we were finished, he said. Today we stand together, ready to take back our home. The Vorex think they've won. They think humanity is broken. He looked around the room at the determined faces. Let's show them how wrong they are. On a screen behind him, the plan appeared, Operation Prometheus, the first true counterattack in humanity's darkest hour. The gathering was complete. The time for hiding was over. The hidden asteroid base buzzed with activity. Once a simple mining outpost, it now served as the headquarters for humanity's resistance. In a large chamber converted into a training area, Lieutenant Roy Jackson watched as 30 men and women practiced combat maneuvers in zero gravity. Again, Jackson ordered as the team failed to properly coordinate their movements. The Vorex won't give you second chances. Commander Ethan Wright entered the chamber and stood beside Jackson. How are they doing? Better than yesterday, Jackson replied. But they're still not ready. They need to be ready in 3 days, Wright said. That's when we move. Across the base in a secured lab, Dr. Olivia Martinez and Dr. Kevin Harris worked on the device that would be the core of their mission. The neural disruptor, as they called it, was designed to break the connection between Vorex ships and their central command. The coding is complete, Harris said, rubbing his tired eyes. If this works, it should create a cascade effect through their entire network. Martinez nodded. But we still need to get it onto one of their command ships. That's the hard part. In another section, Engineer Sam Porter and Chief Engineer Susan Miller modified captured Vorex technology to work with human systems. Their tech is incredible, Porter said, examining a piece of alien equipment. The way they use quantum fields for communication. We were decades away from figuring this out. Save the admiration for after we beat them, Miller replied. But she too was impressed by the alien technology. In the communications center, Greg Phillips listened to intercepted Vorex transmissions. After months of study, he had begun to crack their language patterns. Commander, he called as Wright entered the room. I found something important. Phillips played a recording of Vorex communication. They're bringing in a new ship, much larger than anything we've seen before. From what I can translate, it's some kind of processing vessel. Processing for what? Wright asked. For humans, Phillips said grimly. I think this is where they're taking the people they've captured. Wright's jaw tightened. When does it arrive? 3 days. It will enter orbit around Earth on the far side, away from most of their fleet. Wright saw an opportunity. That's our target. If we can capture that ship, we might be able to rescue some of our people. And it would be the perfect place to deploy the neural disruptor. The next day, Wright gathered the resistance leaders to explain the new plan. Governor Alice Bennett, Major Paul Davis, pilot Natalie Wilson, and the others listened carefully. The operation has 3 parts, Wright explained, pointing to a holographic display of the Earth and the Vorex fleet. First, Major Davis will lead a diversionary attack on their base on Mars. This should draw some of their ships away from Earth. Davis nodded. My team is ready. Second, Wright continued, Wilson will pilot a captured Vorex shuttle carrying our infiltration team. We'll approach the processing ship using their own access codes that Phillips has decoded. Wilson looked confident. I can get us there. Their ships are fast but not very maneuverable. I can outfly them if I have to. Once aboard, Wright said. Martinez, Harris, Porter, and I will find the ship's neural node and plant the disruptor. Meanwhile, Jackson will lead a team to locate and free any human prisoners. And third? Bennett asked. The Defiant and the other ships will wait at these coordinates. Wright pointed to a position behind Earth's moon. If everything goes according to plan, the disruptor will create enough confusion for us to extract. If not, they'll move in to cover our escape. Miller, who would command the Defiant during the mission, spoke up. The ships are ready, but they're not warships. Against the Vorex, we won't last long in a direct fight. This isn't about winning a battle, Wright said. It's about striking the first blow, showing that humans can hurt them. If the neural disruptor works, it will affect their entire fleet. The room fell silent as everyone considered the risks. Finally, Bennett spoke. Europa Colony stands with you, Commander. We'll provide whatever support we can. One by one, the others voiced their agreement. The plan was set. 3 days later, the resistance ships moved into position. Major Davis and his team launched their attack on the Vorex Mars base, destroying several smaller alien vessels before retreating into the planet's canyon networks. As predicted, a portion of the Vorex fleet moved to respond. Wright, Martinez, Harris, Porter, and Jackson, along with 10 other fighters, boarded the captured Vorex shuttle. Wilson took the controls, her hands steady despite the pressure. Remember, Wright told the team, we'll only have about 30 minutes once we're aboard. After that, either the disruptor will work, or we'll need to fight our way out. The shuttle approached Earth, transmitting the stolen access codes. Wright held his breath as they neared the massive processing ship that had just arrived in orbit. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of their largest pre-war space stations. They're responding, Wilson said. We're cleared to dock in. Bay 4. The shuttle entered the alien ship smoothly. So far, the plan was working. When the doors opened, the team moved quickly, splitting into 2 groups as planned. Jackson led his rescue team toward the center of the ship, while Wright's group headed for the neural node. Using Porter's modified sensors, they navigated the strange corridors of the alien vessel. The inside was unlike any human ship, organic-looking, materials combined with technology, and strange lights pulsed along the walls. It's like the ship is alive, Martinez whispered. Stay focused, Wright replied. Porter, how much farther? 2 more levels down. The node should be in a protected chamber. They encountered 3 Vorex guards and quickly stunned them with weapons modified to affect the aliens' nervous systems. So far, they had managed to avoid raising an alarm. Meanwhile, Jackson's team found the processing center, a nightmare of chambers where humans were kept in suspension. Hundreds of people floated in transparent pods connected to machines that seemed to be scanning their brains. Start getting them out, Jackson ordered. Carefully. Back with Wright's team, they reached the neural node, a glowing sphere surrounded by pulsing machinery. This is it, Harris said, the connection point to their entire network. Martinez and Porter began setting up the disruptor while Wright and 2 fighters stood guard. How long? Wright asked. 5 minutes to connect it properly, Porter replied. Then another 2 minutes to activate and get clear before it triggers. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. On his communicator, Wright heard Jackson's voice. Commander, we've been spotted. The Vorex know we're here. How many prisoners have you freed? Wright asked. About 30. There are hundreds. More, but we don't have time. Get those 30 to the shuttle. We'll meet you there. Martinez looked up from her work. We need more time. How much longer? 3 minutes to connect it, then 2 to clear the area. Wright made a decision. Finish it. Jackson, get everyone to the shuttle. Take off in exactly 5 minutes, whether we're there or not. But sir, that's an order, Lieutenant. Wright could hear sounds of fighting in the distance. The Vorex were closing in. Done, Porter announced. Now we need to activate it and get at least 100 meters away before it triggers. Wright nodded. Do it. Porter pressed a sequence of controls. On the device, lights began flashing on its surface. 2 minutes until it activates. We need to move now. The team ran from the chamber, heading toward the docking bay. Behind them, the neural disruptor began its work, sending carefully crafted feedback signals into the Vorex network. They were halfway to the shuttle when they encountered a group of Vorex soldiers. A firefight erupted in the narrow corridor. Wright and his team took cover behind alien machinery. 1 minute left, Porter said, checking his timer. We're not going to make it to the shuttle, Martinez realized. Wright thought quickly. There must be escape pods or smaller vessels. Porter, check their systems. Porter accessed a nearby terminal. Maintenance bay 1 level down. Small craft there. That's our new exit, Wright decided. Move. As they fought their way down to the maintenance bay, the neural disruptor reached its activation point. Throughout the ship, lights flickered and systems began to fail. The Vorex soldiers suddenly seemed confused, their coordinated attacks becoming chaotic. It's working, Harris shouted. The neural disruption is affecting them. They reached the maintenance bay and found several small Vorex craft. Porter rushed to one and began figuring out the controls. I think I can fly this, he said. Outside the ship, the effect spread to nearby Vorex vessels. Some began drifting, while others fired weapons randomly. The carefully organized alien fleet was falling into disarray as Wright's team escaped in the stolen maintenance craft. They watched as confusion spread through the Vorex ships. The processing vessel itself began to drift out of orbit. We did it, Martinez said, her voice filled with wonder. We actually hurt them. Wright nodded, but his expression remained serious. This is just the beginning. Now we need to hit them, again, harder. The small craft raced away from Earth, toward the waiting human ships. Behind them, for the first time since the invasion, the Vorex fleet was in chaos. Humanity had struck back. 1 month had passed since the attack on the Vorex processing ship. The resistance base on Europa was no longer hidden. After their successful strike, Commander Ethan Wright had decided it was time to stop hiding and start fighting openly. Vorex are still recovering from our attack, Wright told the gathered resistance leaders. Their neural network was damaged more than we expected. Now is the time to push harder. Dr. Olivia Martinez stood next to a holographic display showing the current state of the Vorex fleet. The disruptor caused a cascade effect through their entire system. About 30% of their ships are still experiencing communication problems. But they're adapting, Dr. Kevin Harris added. They're creating backup systems. In another week, they'll have fixed most of the damage. Major Paul Davis, who had led the diversionary attack on Mars, pointed to several locations on the display. They've also increased security at all their major installations. Getting close again won't be easy. The mood in the room was tense. They had struck a blow, but the Vorex still controlled Earth and most of the solar system. The aliens had responded to the attack with increased aggression, destroying several small human outposts in the asteroid belt. We need something bigger than another raid, Wright said. We need a way to cripple them permanently. Just then, Communications Officer Lisa Powell rushed into the room. Commander, we're picking up a transmission. It's from the edge of the solar system. Vorex reinforcements? Wright asked, his heart sinking. No, sir, it's human. They're using old Earth Navy frequencies. The room fell silent. Then, on the main screen, the face of a gray-haired man in a naval uniform appeared. This is Admiral Joseph Carter of the Earth Deep Space Contingency Fleet, calling any human survivors. If anyone can hear this, please respond. Wright couldn't believe what he was seeing. Carter's fleet was sent out before the invasion as a last resort measure. They've been hiding beyond Pluto all this time. Governor Alice Bennett looked skeptical. How do we know this isn't a Vorex trick? We don't, Wright admitted. But if it's real, it changes everything. They responded to the transmission and, after careful verification, confirmed it was indeed real. Admiral Carter's fleet consisted of 12 warships that had been secretly built and launched before the invasion. They had been ordered to remain hidden unless Earth faced an extinction-level threat. 2 days later, Admiral Carter arrived at Europa. He was a tall, stern man with eyes that had seen too much. "We've been watching," Carter told Wright during their first meeting. "Gathering intelligence, studying the enemy. When we detected the disruption in their fleet, we knew someone was fighting back." "Why didn't you contact us sooner?" Wright asked. "Our orders were clear. Remain hidden until we could make a difference. One wrong move, and humanity's last fleet would be destroyed." Carter's expression softened slightly. "Your attack proved we might have a chance." With Carter's fleet came new resources, advanced weapons, fresh supplies, and trained soldiers. More importantly, they brought a plan. "The Vorex have a command ship," Carter explained, showing images of a massive vessel in Earth orbit. "It coordinates their entire invasion force. Our intelligence suggests that destroying it would not just disrupt their network, it would break it completely." Engineer Sam Porter studied the images. "That ship is heavily defended. We'd need something more powerful than our neural disruptor to affect it." "We have something," Carter said. "Before the invasion, our scientists were developing a quantum field inverter, a weapon designed to disable advanced technology without causing physical destruction. We've adapted it to target the Vorex neural frequencies." Harris looked impressed. "That could work, but you'd need to get very close to deploy it." "That's where your team comes in, Commander Wright," Carter said. "My fleet will engage their main forces, but we need your people to deliver the inverter." Planning the final attack took another week. Every survivor with combat experience was called to Europa. Ships were modified, weapons prepared, and strategies developed. Everyone knew this would be humanity's last stand. Either they would break the Vorex or humanity would be finished. The night before the attack, Wright found Martinez staring at Earth through one of Europa's observation domes. "Thinking about home?" he asked. She nodded. "I grew up in Buenos Aires. I keep wondering if it's still there or if the Vorex have destroyed it completely." "We'll find out soon," Wright said. "One way or another." Martinez turned to face him. "I've been studying the Vorex communications we captured. There's something strange about them." "What do you mean?" "The ones affected by our disruptor, they're communicating differently. Not just technically, but the content is different. It's almost like they're developing individual thoughts." Wright frowned. "Is that important?" "It might be. The Vorex are a hive mind. They don't think as individuals. But what if our disruptor didn't just break their network? What if it forced some of them to think for themselves for the first time?" The next morning, the combined human fleet left Europa. Carter's warships formed the main attack force, while the Defiant led a smaller group of fast vessels designed to slip through the Vorex defenses. As they approached Earth, the Vorex responded as expected, moving to engage Carter's fleet. The battle was fierce, human technology against alien power. Carter's ships were more advanced than anything the Vorex had faced from humans before, and they fought with desperate courage. Using the battle as cover, the Defiant and its escort ships moved toward the far side of Earth. Wright, Martinez, Harris, Porter, and Jackson led the mission to approach the Vorex command ship. "They've detected us," Powell reported as warning signals flashed on her console. "Two pursuit vessels closing in." "Evasive maneuvers," Wright ordered. "Jackson, prepare to deploy countermeasures." The Defiant twisted and turned, avoiding enemy fire. One of their escort ships was hit and exploded, but the others continued on their course. "We're approaching the command ship," pilot Natalie Wilson announced. 30 seconds to deployment range." Suddenly, something unexpected happened. One of the Vorex ships chasing them turned and fired on another Vorex vessel. "What's happening?" Wright asked, confused. "It's the neural disruption," Martinez said excitedly. "Some of the Vorex ships are fighting each other." Taking advantage of the confusion, the Defiant closed in on the command ship. Porter prepared the quantum field inverter, a device that looked too small to end a war. "Ready for deployment," he reported. "Do it," Wright ordered. The inverter launched from the Defiant, attaching itself to the hull of the Vorex command ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then waves of energy began pulsing across the massive alien vessel. Lights flickered and died, and the ship's weapons fell silent. "It's working!" Harris shouted. Throughout the solar system, the effect spread to all Vorex ships connected to the command network. Some went completely dark while others began moving erratically. The carefully coordinated alien force was falling apart. "We've done it," Wright said quietly. "We've broken their control." In the days that followed, humanity began the long process of reclaiming their home. Many Vorex ships simply shut down, while others retreated from the solar system. Some, strangely, attempted to communicate with humans. One such ship allowed itself to be boarded. Inside, they found something unexpected. A Vorex that called itself Isolate. It explained that the neural disruption had freed many Vorex from the hive mind, giving them individual consciousness for the first time. "Not all want war," Isolate told them in its strange voice. Many confused, first time thinking alone, scary, new. 6 months after the final battle, Wright stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, now orbiting a healing Earth. Below, cities were being rebuilt. The remaining Vorex, those freed from the hive mind, had become an unexpected ally, offering technology in exchange for a place to exist as individuals. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Martinez asked, joining him at the window. "Working with the very aliens who tried to destroy us?" Wright shook his head. "No. But maybe that's what makes us human. The ability to adapt, to find unexpected solutions." Outside, construction ships were building a new defense network around Earth. One that combined human ingenuity with Vorex technology. The solar system would never be defenseless again. "We survived," Wright said, looking at the stars beyond. "We fought back, and we won." Humanity had done more than survive. They had changed the course of their future. The stars, once a place of wonder then of terror, now represented a new frontier. And this time, humanity would face it strong, united, and prepared.